And we are live. Good morning and welcome to Saturday in the kitchen. I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful start to your day. We're going to be busy here in the kitchen. We got a lot going on and going to be cooking a few things and getting a few things ready for the freezer. I wanted to do some prep work and I thought, well, let's do that today while things are cooking and changing. So we're going to be doing a lot of things right here. So I'm glad you're there. Let's get comfortable, get you a cup of coffee. I've got mine and I'm ready to go. So I'm going to start with the biscuits because they're going to need to bake. And then we're going to put together a homemade country sausage gravy to go over those biscuits. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so good. And you know what? You're really going to have to control yourself because you're not going to want to overeat. And you're probably going to have some left over that you can have Sunday morning. Or you could actually prepare this and have it just ready to warm up for Sunday, either before you go to church or after. So let's get started with that. So in my bowl, we're going to add in about 3 cups of flour. Now, I really don't have to measure the flour, and this is self-rising flour, just so you know. So I'm going to do a shake. That's 1. And here's 2. How's your Saturday morning? And here's 3. Saturday mornings are always busy times, even whether you work in the home or out of the home. It doesn't matter. Saturday mornings are just times to get it done. Get it done, no matter what it is. It may be something you planned, or it may be something that somebody planned for you. You may have to take the kiddos to football or soccer or whatever it may be. And the next thing we're going to add into this bowl, and you know what, I'm going to put on the side just a little bit of flour because later on we're going to need to do a little dusting. So I'm going to put that off on the side. Okay, let's kind of get that out of the way. Now we need some, make a well in the center, and these are going to come together so nicely. Now I need about a teaspoon of baking soda. I usually add just a little bit, and it doesn't have to be exact. So you notice I'm just kind of sprinkling some additional baking soda. Now with self-rising flour, you know, it has the salt, it has the baking powder, and but a little bit of baking soda just kind of helps to get those biscuits where you want them. So I'm going to give all of that a good stir. And then put it back to its well. Now in the center, I'm going to take all of this and kind of push it off, make a little well down there. Then the center, I'm going to put in some Crisco. And I'm going to average about, I'm doing this only for you because normally I just kind of go in and scoop some out. But I'm going to say about 1/4 cup. And you may need just a little bit more. And so I'm okay with heaping it just a little bit. So we're going to put about 1/4 cup in. And like I said, you know, if you get a little bit too much, that's not a problem. If you get way too much, then that's a problem, and you're going to need to take some out. So there's our Crisco. And certainly you could do this with butter if you choose, but I'm going to put this right here in the center. Now I'm going to go get some nice ice cold buttermilk, because buttermilk is what you need for these biscuits. So there we go. I didn't want to take it out too early just because it needs to stay nice and cold. So I'm going to take the top off. Now I'm not going to measure. the buttermilk. Well, I guess I will. I'm gonna use this little quarter cup. And whoops, it needs a little, I'll go ahead and throw that in, a little shaky shake. I got in a hurry, didn't give him a good shake because buttermilk will separate on you. So while we're shaking, good morning, Ronnie. Good to see you. Hope you're having fun. And everyone else who's out, I hope you're just having a great time this morning. So we're going to put together these biscuits and make some country gravy. And we are going to start and put together, actually for the freezer, a chicken cassoulet. And if you haven't prepared, that's one. This is a quarter cup. 2. And I'm going to put in 3. Okay. 3/4 of a cup. Now, this hand's nice and clean. It's already floury. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just kind of mush up the Crisco into the buttermilk. Just going to get that mushed up a little bit. Just run it through your fingers. And then slowly but surely, you're going to start to add your flour in. And it's like you're kind of doing a little scratch. And you're just adding more and more flour in. And as you go, you're working that Crisco into the flour. So we're going to continue to do that. And if it seems like it just gets too dry, then we'll add just a little bit more buttermilk. Now see how messy you're going to get? But that's okay, because we know the end result is going to be wonderful. Now I can already tell we're going to need just a little more buttermilk. So I'm going to try to be good. Let's see if I can pour this and not make a mess. I'm only measuring, like I said, because I want you to kind of have an idea. We have about 3 cups. That's 1. That's a 1/4. And we're going to add about another 1/2 cup. Okay. So there we go. And we're just going to turn this as we go, because we're going to use pretty much all of this. That's why I kind of keep it to 3 cups, because we're able to really utilize what we have. And as you go, you're still doing that motion that resembles a scratch, where you're kind of scraping and scratching, but you're pulling your biscuit dough through your fingers. You're working it through the fingers. And when you start to see that it's really starting to come together and come through, then we're going to take some of this off. Hands are going to be messy, that's okay. And we're going to start to bring it together. Now, if it looks a little dry, and I'm looking at this, and you know, it depends on your flour as to how dry it might be. And I'm thinking I need just a smidget more. Just a smidget more of the buttermilk. We're going to fold it at this point. And we kind of want it almost like a baby's bottom. We do not want it to be too dry. So I usually err on the side of a little too moist, because I want my biscuits to come out nice and moist. I don't want them dry. Not too dry anyway. So I'm going to put just a little bit more in. And this is something texture-wise you have to play with. Have you ever gotten a mouthful of biscuits and they have been like powder? They've been so dry. Well, that's not what we want. We want our biscuits to be soft and moist. Ah, there we go. That's what we want. So it's sticky. You want a sticky dough. And you'll notice that as you look down in the bottom of this pan, which I will show you in just a moment, it's holding together, and just about all of that three 3 cups of flour is right here. And by the time we finish, all of it will be in this ball of dough. There we go. I have some friends coming this weekend, and while they're not going to be here necessarily for breakfast, they will be here for dinner. So we're going to need to put together something for dinner because I want to be able to have fun with them while they're here. And yet and still, I want a nice dinner when we come back. So we're going to work on that. Now I've got my nice sticky dough here. I'm going to move those out of the way. Got a little bit of dough there. I'm putting it back over there. And I'm just going to kind of spread just a little bit of flour here. And I'm going to scoop out our biscuit dough. We're going to work with it for just a minute. Now, we don't want to work with it too much, but we do. I'm going to fold toward the middle, kind of fold it in thirds, because we want to build layers. Then I'm going to turn it. And in fact, I'm going to pick it up and turn it over. Then I'm going to fold again. And fold again. Put it back in its rectangle. I'm going to turn it over, flip it again. Give it a little push. Notice we have not pulled out a rolling pin. And to be honest with you, you don't necessarily have to even use your rolling pin. And most of the time I don't. Because that's just one more thing to have to clean and take out. So we are saving time. You know, I had one of my subscribers, it was such a nice memory. It was her name that triggered the memory. And I won't say what her name is because I didn't ask if I could do that. And but what was kind of cool was that her name was the name that my aunt, who has gone on to the great beyond, used to call me. And rather than Leona, she would always call me this particular name. And so when I was talking to this person in the, down in the comments, I was sharing with her what a wonderful cook this aunt was. Oh my goodness, she could cook. And every morning, she lived on a farm. She and her husband, daughter, lived on a farm. And so they had their own hogs. They had their own, pretty much their own everything. He was a tobacco farmer. And they had everything they needed right there on that farm. She made all of her own jellies. But what was amazing to me was how she could get up every morning. And she not only cooked for her family, but she cooked for the men who worked out in the field. And she would prepare breakfast. Well, when she prepared breakfast, oh my goodness. She was by herself. She'd go in that kitchen. She'd turn on the radio, get a gospel channel going, and start singing. And when she came out of that kitchen, it smelled so good. Now, I don't want these too flat. I think they're ready right here. I'm going to wash my hands real quick and get the cutter, and we're going to be ready to put these into the skillet. There we go. All righty. Now, for those of you who have been with me quite some while, you know that when I cut, I typically cut with a glass. And while I have cutters, guys, it's just that I always use the glass. So I'm going to put the top back on this buttermilk real quick, get it back in the fridge. wiped off. And then we're going to be ready to start cutting. My cast iron is already oiled and ready to receive the biscuits. The stove is hot. I have it set on 400. All right, now I need just a little more extra flour. And you know, this does not have to be self-rising for this. So I'm just going to get a spoonful of just regular flour, put it off to the side so I can dip my glass in there. There we go. All righty, let's get that glass nice and floured. And remember, when you're cutting, you cut straight down, and there he is. So this is going to be a substantial biscuit. I'm using a wider mouth glass because I want to be able to, when we do our country gravy, or should we decide later, another day, that we want to add some bacon and cheese and egg, then the biscuit is ready. Now, you know what you aren't supposed to do, and I didn't know this because as a little girl, when I was helping my mother cut biscuits, you always, I would turn. I didn't know that that was a no-no. All right, so got the cast iron skillet. It's nice and oiled. I'm just going to put these, I'm going to start in the middle because I'm not quite sure how many biscuits we're going to get out of this today, since these are a little larger and I want them to touch. I know some people don't want theirs to touch because they like for each one to have that crispy outside, but for this, I want them to touch. These are nice, substantial size biscuits. They are nice and soft. You can tell how your biscuits are going to come out just by the feel of them. There we go. Being very gentle with them because I don't want to mess up those layers that we put in. The excess we'll put together. Oh, this is going to work out great. Okay, we're going to have more than we need. Fill this pan. And that's okay. Because then I can kind of start to squeeze them in. They don't have to be perfectly shaped. And let me see if I can show you where they are. There they are. All right. So they're going to be perfect, but they're going to taste wonderful. Okay. I'm going to work them in because I want them in this pan and I want them all to cook at the same time. There we go. Work him in there. Work him in. Okay. Now let's take this little bit. Not really going to add any flour to it. I'm just going to work it a little bit. I don't want to work it too much because I don't want these to be tough. I want them to be as good as the others. And so just giving them a moment. I'm folding them over. Then press out. Okay. One more. Work him in. These babies are all going to go into this skillet. Understand? All right. And I think we're going to get one more nice little biscuit. He's not going to be as big as the other, but he's going to taste equally as good. So I'm good with him. And actually, it's good that he's not quite as large as some of the others because then we can work it around, work our biscuits, and I can put him right in there. All right. Now, you know what I forgot? I should have left out. I'm going to give it another little shake. This is our buttermilk. And I'm going to put just a little bit of buttermilk in there, just a drop or two. And I'm going to take a little bit of that buttermilk wet my fingers, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to rub the tops of these biscuits. Just put a little bit on your hand and rub the top of the biscuits. It's just going to give them a nice flavor, nice color. There you go. Don't you love it? Is your mouth watering already? I know mine is. It'll be so good. Okay, I think all the biscuits have been done. See, that was just enough buttermilk. All right, now this part's done. That's all done. And I'm going to set all that off to the side. And we're going to get these into the oven. So let's see if I can direct you in such a way that you're going to be right there as we put these in. Okay. Got the oven hot. I'm going to put these in the center, and we're going to let them cook until they are pretty brown. And that you can tell that the ones in the middle are brown. And if you aren't quite sure, then just lift one up, look at the bottom, because you do want the bottom to be pretty brown, not dark brown, but a nice brown. So that part's done. All right, so we're going to start working on our country gravy, because before you know it, those biscuits are going to be hot and ready out of the oven. Let me take all of this over here out of the way, because we're not going to need this. I'm going to get my washcloth, wipe down this counter, put the buttermilk back, and we're going to start to cut onions, because you know we need onions. We're going to need onions for the country gravy. We're going to need onions for the cassoulet. Now, let's get our onions. I got onions right here, and I'm going to bring those forward. I'm going to put you in a position where you are able to see what we're up to, because we're doing stuff here in the kitchen. For those of you who are new, glad to see you. Hope you'll come back. And guys, please share this video so your friends will know where you are on Saturday morning, that you are here in the kitchen and that we are cooking it up, girls, in this kitchen. This is a great time to be able to get ahead of the week. You can do all your prep work. You don't have to prepare everything, but you can certainly prep it so that when Monday afternoon comes, your dinner is prepped and everything will move along very smoothly. So for those of us who are a little more seasoned, we probably worked a little bit of this out. But for those who are new in the kitchen, they need to know, and we have to share that information with them. Now wait till the last minute, work as far ahead as you can. All right, so I've got the onions, and I'm going to first put them in half moons. So I'm just slicing them into half moons, and I have two good sized onions. I'll say they're about medium. I'm going to take one is going to go into the cassoulet. The other is going to go into the country gravy. So we're getting everything prepped for that country gravy, because it's going to come together very quickly. And we're going to want to make sure that we have all that we need. So I'm going to put all of this together, stack it up together, and then I'm going to dice it, do a little small dice. Because what you don't want is a gigantic mouthful of onion. Well, some people who like onions might like that, but I prefer having a little small dice and that the onions kind of in the background. I know it's there, but we don't want to have to necessarily taste or chew on it every time we get a mouthful. Okay, so we're just making the fine dice. get it as small as I can possibly get it. And then I'm gonna run the knife back through it once we've done that. We're trying to hold on to as much as we can. Are your kiddos in school? Your grands and everyone, are they in school and enjoying the week? I know our grands just got back into school, state of Virginia, but there are still some people in Virginia who won't start until this week. I'm not quite sure why they're off schedule, but it could be weather related. And some people went in even a little earlier. And depending upon the state that you're in, you may find that that's the case. Okay, now these onions are going to, I'm going to put these right here in the skillet. Not yet. I'm going to hold on to those. I'm thinking as we work. Don't you do that? Think as you work and think, no, that's not what I want to do. I'm going to hold off with onions until after I've cooked all the sausage. So we're going to get these started. Now, I'm actually going to go ahead and start the sausage. I'm going to cook the sausage, and I want it cooked well. I'm going to take some of the sausage oils and, the grease out after it's finished. And then I'm going to add the onion into the pan. We're going to have onion, a little celery. If you have green pepper, add green pepper. I don't have any this morning, but I'm going to take these over to the stove and I'm going to come back and get you. Now we'll work on that other onion in just a minute. So I've got you over here and I'm going to bring you down just a little bit. There we go. Now, see if we get a little light on the subject. Okay. Now I'm using today Jimmy Dean's sausage. And the only one I could get, I really wanted the Jimmy Dean with sage, but they didn't have any. So I am just using the regular Jimmy Dean. I'm putting this on the stove on a medium. And I'm going to use this pan right here as my workstation over here, and we're going to open this up. And I'm going to get all of this put into the pan. So we're going to squeeze all of that out. All this out. Okay, that's half. And here's the other half. This is going to be so good. I can't wait. I told the big guy, I said, we're going to have brunch today. And he said, huh? I said, yeah, going to have brunch. So let me get we're going to let this get started. Now I'm just going to take this and I'm going to start kind of chopping it up, get it into the pan. So as it gets hot, it will start to cook. And every now and then I'll just come through and give it a little chop. But this is hot. So because of this, in the recipe that you'll see, it gives you the option of being able to add red pepper flakes to kind of give it a little kick. And we're not going to have to add the red pepper flakes because all of that is already in our sausage. Now, so I'm going to give this some time to cook. We're going to go over here and work on the other onion, and let's see who's here. Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, how neat, cosmetology school. That's wonderful. I need to find somebody in that area. Pre-COVID, seems like there was a hair salon on every corner, or at least every other corner. And now it's like all of a sudden they're hard to find. And I don't know if people are just concerned because they don't want to get too close. But, I am certainly cosmetologists are needed. And you know, that's a good field because it will go with you anywhere. If you move, you can always take your skill with you. If you don't have a salon to go to, some people are even working out of their home and doing almost the same amount of business as they were doing when they were in the shops. So I am just dicing this onion because we're going to need it for our chicken cassoulet. Now, just in case you're wondering, what is a cassoulet? A cassoulet is just a casserole, but it's kind of this is kind of a stew. And this is really, the cassoulet comes from French. That's the word they use as a cassoulet because they like that more stew-like casserole that has a nice gravy. And it's really a fantastic one-pan meal. So we've got our onions here. Now what I'm going to do with these onions is that I'm going to put them into a Ziploc bag. I'm going to get a couple just in case anything's wrong. And I'm going to mark it chicken cassoulet. And you hear the meat simmering. And over there our sausage is going. So I'm going to start our cassoulet in this bag. And I'm going to add in all the onion. So that's one medium onion that is going into this bag. Now my suggestion is that you will not want to cook this in advance. You're going to want to wait until you're about an hour out from dinner time and pull out your cassoulet and get it into the oven. And then that way you can, everything's fresh coming out off the stove, but you have saved a lot of time because you didn't have to do it from scratch. Let me get the celery. Now we got celery. I'm thinking I probably need maybe 2 stalks. I'm going to take off 2 stalks and lay these off to the side. Get them good and warm. So I'm going to take the ends off first. And I'm going to take some of the top off. Now I'm going to take these little stems off because these are not looking that great. Any little leaves that might be on there, I'm getting those off too. And any little imperfections that you see, you may want to take off as well. So we had a little bit, and then just give it all a good wash. I think celery has been one of those vegetables that kind of struggled this summer just because of all the seeds. So I'm going to give myself a good wash. Okay, now I'm going to take the larger ends, cut them in half. Take some of this one I'm going to cut in half just to kind of keep them about the same size, cook more evenly. Cut these stalks in half. This one's pretty good. Put all of those together, and we're going to dice them very fine. And that's 2 stalks of celery. And once we get this cut, I'm going to check on the sausage and also take a peek at our biscuits and see how they're going as well. So there we go. We've got our celery diced. And I'm going to add this celery to the bag. I love these little cutting mats. They're at Dollar Tree. You get 2 in a package. They last forever if you take good care of them. Now, rinse my hands. we're going over here and see how that sausage is coming along so that we can start to put that country gravy together. Now, I'm going to pull out about a 1/4 cup of flour while we're over here because we're going to need a little flour for our gravy. Not a lot, but we'll need a little bit. So let's go over to our skillet. We're going to sit our flour down right there and start to break it up. Oh yeah, this smells so good. And the nice thing, if you get a really good brand of sausage and one that has good flavoring, that really saves when you're putting whatever it is that you're using the sausage for. I use sausage in my dressing for Thanksgiving very often. Sometimes I use a turkey sausage just because I have some people who are a little sensitive to pork. So I may not use the pork sausage. But if I'm just cooking it for the, my family, then I know I can go ahead and put that in. Okay, so this is continuing. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to shake in, even though I know I've got onions, but you know what? Onion powder adds a little special flavor. So we're going to add, I hate when the onion powder gets damp. And during the summer, that happens. Let's get a fork. We're going to break it up. Okay. And sprinkle in a little onion powder. There it goes. Onion powder. We're going to sprinkle in a little garlic powder. I hope it is looser. And it is actual powder. Okay, garlic, onion. I have to keep the right top on the right jar. Okay, and let's give this a little more of a stir. Making sure, and I'm looking down here, it's really not as fat as it could have been. Some sausages tend to be extremely fat, and you get an awful lot of oil. And this one, seemingly, you don't. So that's good. Now I am breaking this up as we go. And this is just about ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add our 1 diced onion. So that it can all start to get happy in this skillet together. There we go. Now, one thing about country gravy is that you got to make sure that you have plenty of seasoning. Now, let me give biscuits a peek. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I can get you down there to see these, but honey, can you see that? Oh my God, they're beautiful. They're going to be so good with this country gravy. Oh, yummy, yummy. Okay, now I'm going to add just a little parsley. And this is parsley I dried. And I'm just going to take a little pinch, just a pinch. And I'm going to add a little parsley. If you have fresh thyme or some of those flavors that you like, you have fresh sage, you could certainly add that in. And I'm going to add in a touch of pepper. Not a lot, because I already know that this has quite a bit of red pepper. So I'm just sprinkling in a little. And at this point, I'm not going to add in any salt because I'm not sure about the sausage, how salty it might be. But sometimes they are. Okay. Now, I'm going to take my flour and I'm going to start to sprinkle flour, a little bit of flour over the top. If I had there we go, just sprinkling it in, because what it's going to do is that it's going to start to cook with the meat. So I'm just sprinkling in, that was about a tablespoon of flour. So all of that's in, okay? Keep it fairly smooth. And we're going to go back and we're going to cook that flour out as we're cooking our onions. And you know, this particular gravy is made with milk. Now I'm going to let mine get just a little brown, what I've got down in here, because I want my gravy to be a little brown. And if it doesn't get as brown as I want, I'm going to add one of my secrets, which is Kitchen Bouquet. Kitchen Bouquet will turn that gravy the color you want. And so we're going to work on that. I'm going to let this continue to cook. And you know, some people like their sausage crispy, kind of crispy like. And if you like yours a little more crispy rather than just well cooked, then you can certainly do that. Now, I had there we go. Got my little spurtle that I'm going to use, and I'm going to start to scrape. Can you see all the goodness on the bottom? See how that's the fond that you got on the bottom. I'm see if I can bring you down so you can see the fond, because that's important. That's flavor down there in the bottom of that pan. And we're just continuing to stir so that when we put the milk in, all of that is going to come off. So I'm just going to continue to cook it, let it go. I want a pretty good shade of brown. You can see it's getting pretty dark. I don't want to burn it, but I want it a good, pretty brown, pretty golden brown. There we go. Welcome to all of you who are here this morning. Glad to have you. Yummy, yummy. There we go. Oh, guys. I'm going to get the milk out and we're going to be ready to stir it up. Now, I'm thinking that we're probably going to need about 3 cups. We may need more. And if yours is a little too thick, if you like yours really, 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 really thick, then certainly you can add more. Now, I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. And I'm going to start to add, that's the first cup of milk. And I'm going to let it get hot. I've got this girdle has a flat end, and the reason for that is that it's going to allow me to get all of the fond off the bottom of this skillet. So I'm kind of scraping the bottom because I want all of that to come up, and I want it to go into this gravy. Okay, that's getting a start. That's a good start, and it's coming off. It's coming off. I'm going to add a second cup. Cup 2. Now, because we cooked our flour, added our flour, this is going to start to thicken up. But before that, like I said, I'm trying to make sure that I get all the fond off the bottom. So I'm using my spurtle, my wooden spoon, to bring all of that off as it cooks. I've turned it down just a little bit. Now, let me tell you, another secret of this is Worcestershire sauce. So we're going to add in a couple of dashes of Worcestershire soy. Where's our Worcestershire? I know I have it. Okay. I must have had to get a new one. I didn't do that. There we go. Okay. Let's get him open because he is brand new. I must have run out, I guess. The last time I used it, we did steaks not too long ago, and I know I used it for that. This is not being kind and coming off easy. Let's see. There we go. Don't you? I love all the safety features sometimes, but not at the last minute. You know, when you want things to come off quickly, the safety feature drives you crazy. All right, let's give it a good shake. And we're going to get it open, and we're going to sprinkle in just a little. There we go. I turned it down just a little too far. Let me peek at our biscuits. Ooh, they're pretty. All right. Let them finish up. And let me see if I can get this so you can see that all of that fond is off the bottom of the pan. We made sure all of that was gone. Now, I like having a little color to my gravy, just a little. And it does. It has a little color to it. And you can see as this sausage broke up, remember this was a hot sausage, that you can see the little red pepper flakes appear as it breaks up. Now I'm going to put just a tiny bit more. Just a tiny bit more. Now, if you find that you want yours a little thicker, then, you know, add a little more flour. But I want gravy. So I'm going to bring it up just a little bit because I do want it to simmer. And I want all of this to really cook well. Now let me get a spoon, give it a taste to see if I need salt, because you notice I have not put any salt up to this point. So let me get that spoon. It's got the perfect heat, and I think it needs just a touch of salt, just a touch. Oh, that is going to be good over those biscuits. Okay, so just a sprinkle of salt, I think, will be enough. I had pulled out the house seasoning just in case we needed that, but we don't. It's got everything it needs with the garlic, the onion, and like I said, if you wanted to add green peppers, you could certainly do it. But I'm going to let this simmer for a little while. Put the top on it. Let it continue to simmer, and I'm going to check on those biscuits. So let's get down here and see how those biscuits are coming along. Now I'm putting the tops on things so that should I have a moment, we won't have a moment. So let's look. Look at how pretty they are. I think I need to give them a little turn. So I'm going to leave this open. I'm going to turn the pan. It seems like the back is browning just a little more than the front. Actually, they're ready. And you can hear that hollow sound as you tap, then you know they're ready. So I'm going to bring you back here so I can take those out. Okay. And get my other towel. Oh my goodness. Let me flip one to see if it is ready. Now I'm going to the middle because that's usually the spot. If anything's not going to be quite ready, that's usually where it is. Oh, the bottoms are pretty. I'm going to bring you over so you can see. The bottom needs to be a nice golden brown. So you can see this is the bottom. There's your top, and they are perfect. Now, you know what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to turn this off so we can cool things off just a little bit. But we're going to need a little butter on those. We're going to brush some butter on them and let them sit while our gravy continues to simmer for 5 to 6 minutes. And let me get our butter. I set it right here on the stove so it would be nice and soft when we were ready. We got a little brush. I'm going to take our brush and just give it a little brush across the top. Oh, yeah. Oh, guys, this is going to be delicious. And they are so pretty. Bake with your cast iron. It just bakes well. So we're slathering on our butter. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, these are going to be amazing. Oh, I'm so excited. I can hardly get it done. Okay. Now let me take one out. I'm going to take that one out that we were looking at the bottom. And I'm going to push this back so we won't have an accident. Okay. I'm going to turn our gravy down because I don't want it to boil away. And I'm going to take our fork. You can see. I'll take our fork and I'm going to open it. There it is. Oh gosh, it is so soft. Oh, now you know what's going to happen. Let me go in here. Where's our spurtle? Give everything a good stir. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. This is perfect. Now I'm going to scoop that off the stove because it has cooked enough. And I'm using the spurtle to make sure that if there's any that has stuck to the bottom of the pan, that we can just put that right into that gravy. This gravy is going to be so good. Okay. Now, actually, I think I'll move this here. See if I can bring this pan because the eye is so hot. I'm going to slip this over to here and find a spoon. And we're going to spoon out some gravy on this biscuit. Okay, those 2 biscuits. Oh my goodness. Breakfast is served. Oh my gosh. And you do it, let it sit there a minute and kind of soak into that mixture. Oh my goodness. Oh, let's see. Give it a taste. This is good. It's not hot. It has just enough kick to it. And being hot. Okay, I'm gonna have to put this off to the side because we need to work on that cassoulet. get that in our, okay, there's my plate. All right, now what we need at this point in this bag, I'm going to add in, this is pesto sauce. So I'm going to add about, there we go. It has olive oil. It has all those good things in there. And I usually add about 1/4 of a cup into the mixture because it's got olive oil. It's got all of your herbs de Provence, which is about 1/4 of a cup for this bottle is about half the bottle. And when you open it up, you can just smell the seasonings. So I'm going to be careful not to stick the sides of the bag. Okay, so that's done. And this is, you just put it in the refrigerator. Now, we're also going to need in this, we need some beans. And I wanted cannelli beans, but at that time, couldn't find them. So I'm going to use what I could. So I'm going to take these beans, I'm going to drain them. Drain most of the liquid out. And I'm going to add in 2 cans of beans. One, and I may even go ahead and put in a third. It just depends on how it looks. We're looking at the balance. And you know how much your family likes. So I'm just taking out our excess liquid. That in there so we won't have any accident. That's 2 cans. All right. And I'm looking at this thinking, I think I'm going to, well, by the time we get, I better go ahead and put the 3rd can in. Just because we're going to have a lot going on. I'm bringing just enough up. There we go. So that's 3 cans. Now this was great value. And it may be that if you're using another brand, it may actually, you may not have to put in the 3rd can, but I did just because I think that's what it needs. Now, I have a jar. I'm purposely using jarred mushrooms, and I'm going to put the juice and all. So, get those in. There's 1 jar. Remember, I told you a cassoulet is hearty. And we need 2 jars. So those 2 jars of mushrooms. You can certainly go about slicing and dicing and sauteing your own, but we're not going to do that for this casserole. Now, I brought over 2 jars of Classico, and this is roasted garlic. I could eat it out of this jar because with that roasted garlic going through it, it is delicious. It's good on a good day, but with the roasted garlic, oh, that's good. That is good. Okay, we're going to add our jar. Now you notice I haven't put the chicken in yet. And all good Italian cooks add in just a touch of water because we want to make sure that we get all of that out. We don't want to waste any. Okay, so there we go. We got our jar in. And I don't think I'm going to put the 2nd jar in. I think I'm going to leave it with the 1st for now. And once we start to really smush this around and add the chicken in, we may need to add a little bit of a 2nd jar, but for the moment, I think we're good. Now, the only thing that we have, well, 2 things that we haven't put in, I've got olives. And if you haven't watched my grocery haul, in fact, I'm sure you haven't as of today, because it's actually posting on Wednesday. I bought these olives, and they are substantial. So I'm going to cut them in half, take them out, and cut them in half. If you like black olives, you can use black olives. Whatever kind of olive you use, you can buy them already sliced. But I like being able to do it myself because I want to be able to see it. I want to see the olives. It's going to look pretty when it bakes. And you know, I'll post on this one's a little mushy, so I'm not going to use him. Sometimes they just get a little too much, I guess, juices or whatever, but sometimes they get mushy. So I'm adding these in. That's about 6. We get a few more. And I think I want about 10 because this is going to add that level of saltiness that you want. And I'm checking them as I'm taking them out. Now, the big guy, I love olives. We eat olives all the time. And so it was funny because when I thought about this dish, as soon as I got to the store, I thought, I better pick up olives because I know I had some, but they are probably gone. All right, so we got our olives in. This one needs to go over there. And I'm going to put the top back on this because I think it's just enough. But you know what? I think before I do that, I'm going to add just a little bit of this olive juice because it's a little salty. That means I don't have to add any salt. And that takes care of some of the liquid. So I'm putting in 1 tablespoon. 2 tablespoons of olive juice. Now, you know, I haven't put the chicken in here yet. And we're setting this up. And actually today, we're going to see how this is all together, nice and juicy. We got it labeled, our cassoulet. I'm going to wipe this surface off because I need to lay it down. And in fact, it's going to fall over in just a moment. I'll give my hands a little rinse. Soapy water. Okay. And I'll wipe this off just in case we have an accident. Now, I'm fortunate where I'm working right now is that I'm right here at my dishwasher. So when I have something really off to happen, I know I can scoot some things into that dishwasher and it's going to handle it. Now what I'm doing is that I'm going to kind of roll it around so everything can get mixed. And what I'm going to do when I'm ready to cook this, I'm going to lay this into the pan first. And I'm going to fix it in the cast iron skillet, the one that you just looked at that I baked the biscuits in. So I'm going to oil it, put this in the bottom, and then I'm going to lay the pieces of chicken on top because this is going to be a grilled chicken or an oven baked chicken cassoulet. And we're going to cook it until that chicken is nice and golden and perfect. So I've got all the goodies in there nice and prepared. Now what I'm going to do is that I need to get the air out because that's important. When you are dealing with a freezer, you must make sure that you get as much of that air out as possible. So I'm going to lay this down, which I usually do when I'm putting things into the freezer. And I give it a good smush because I want to be able to get the air out. And I've kind of got this open just a little bit, not enough that it's going to push the juices out. But I don't want a lot of air space in there. Anything that's in there is going to be juice. So we're pushing that out and I'm locking it in. Okay, so here is the makings for our chicken cassoulet. And so all I'm going to add are going to be the chicken pieces on top. And when it's time for dinner, an hour before, I'm going to put this into a 450 oven and let it go. and I'll probably cover it for a little while, then take the cover off so that the chicken can get nice and crispy, the skin can get crispy, and the top of this cassoulet can get crispy. And it is going to be absolutely delicious. So I'm going to lay this here because it's going to need to go into the freezer. And I'm going to get back to my plate and get another bite of that biscuit and country gravy. Oh my goodness. Mm. Guys, I am so glad that you are here in the kitchen with me today, because the biscuit, the gravy, both are amazing. And you saw it was done in no time. And actually, you could prepare the sausage in advance, have it ready, put it into a Ziploc bag, just like we did for the cassoulet, and have that portion all ready to go. And when Saturday morning or Sunday morning comes, then all you will need to do is to sprinkle your onions and a little flour, put it all back into that skillet, cook it, and it is going to be so good. Thank you for being with me today. And before you leave, be sure to give me a thumbs up. And for those of you who are new, if you are not already family members, you're not going to miss what we're going to be doing, because we're going to be cooking it up right here in this kitchen. And I'm going to look forward to seeing you Monday. So, without further ado, have a blessed and wonderful Saturday and weekend. Blessings to all of you.